Wildomar and Winchester market report today. We've had several of you commenting on our market report videos that you want to see some stats for Wildomar and Winchester, so here it is. Hi, I'm Jessica Genung with the Genung team in Active Realty. Our normal monthly market reports typically cover the larger cities in our valley, which are going to be Temecula, Murrieta, and Menifee. These three cities have a population of over 100,000 people. Wildomar and Winchester are smaller areas, and the population is about 35,000 each and growing. Winchester is especially growing because of all the new construction happening out there, and there is a lot of undeveloped land out there as well. Let's take a look at where they are on the map. Wildomar is located just north of West Murrieta and just south of South Lake Elsinore. Speaking of Lake Elsinore, Wildomar is part of the Lake Elsinore Unified School District. It is an incorporated city now, which happened relatively recently in 2008. So it's a new city. It was previously an unincorporated territory of Riverside County, which is still the case for Winchester, which we'll discuss next. There are a lot of plans in the works for Wildomar, and we're going to be publishing a Wildomar Spotlight video in March, so stay tuned for that. For Winchester, we already have two videos for you to learn about this area that you can check out on the channel titled Top 5 Reasons to Move to Winchester and Winchester Overview. Winchester is not an incorporated city, and this is why it's been a little bit more difficult to pull the market stats, and we've kind of been putting it off. Here is Winchester on the map. It's located north of Temecula, to the east and north of Murrieta, and to the east of Menifee. As you can see by this red dotted outline, the Winchester border, it's a little bit wonky. If you search Winchester on a map, it will only show you this small northern section, which is a little bit misleading. But this whole southern part is within Winchester, and there's a lot of housing here, including new construction. So instead of searching by city name, you will need to search Winchester by zip code 92596. And just to make it a little bit more complicated, if you hear of an area called French Valley, that is also often considered Winchester. Check out the two videos that I mentioned earlier to learn more about the area of Winchester. Let's get to the stats, which we are filming in February, so we'll be looking back at our latest full month of stats, which is January. We plan to do another Wildomar and Winchester update shortly once we have February and March in the books, so we can look at these numbers on a quarterly basis is what we are thinking. Okay, we're going to jump into Wildomar first, 92595, and we're actually going to start with some pretty interesting information because it goes contrary to some of our other cities in the area. And apologies if we have issues with our audio. It's like pouring outside. I got children downstairs too, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, so as you can see here, month over month, December to January, we had an increase, which is a little bit different than the rest of the cities that we analyzed, where Murrieta had a much smaller increase, like a 2% increase. Menifee was flat on the median sales price, and Temecula had that decrease last month. So right now, Wildomar, month over month median sales price is increasing quite a bit more than even the top end of our range, which was Murrieta at 2%. So also kind of interesting, year over year, Wildomar has a price increase. All three of the other cities that we normally analyze had price decreases year over year, with Temecula having the highest price decrease year over year at 6.3%. So it's big difference. And we'll get a little bit into why here in a minute. Looking down at Winchester kind of swings the opposite direction, where it is decreasing more than any of our three cities. So it's decreasing at 3.6% month over month. And if we look at year over year, it is decreasing 9.3%, the median sales price, which is decreasing at a higher percentage than Menifee, Temecula, and Murrieta. Okay, we're going to move on to closed sales, starting with Wildomar, and this is going to kind of explain the difference here. So The volume of closed sales, because these cities and this unincorporated area of Winchester are so much smaller than the other cities that I analyzed, they're typically going to be a little bit more volatile. So starting in Wildomar, number of closed sales increased 33.3%, but it's only by 5 homes. So they had 20 closed sales in January. So we're working with pretty small volume over there. If we're looking at year over year, closed sales is down 37.5%, and we're seeing that closed sales being down across the board. Closed sales, if we are moving out to Winchester, is also down from December to January. I'm sorry, not is also down, because Wildomar's was up month over month. Winchester's is also down, which is the case with Menifee, Murrieta, and Temecula. So Winchester's is down 34.1%. And then year over year, closed sales is also down. This is consistent with the rest of the cities as well, 47.1%. So last month, 27 closed sales. Okay, let's move on to median days on market, starting in Wildomar. So month over month, it took 10 more days to sell a home, from 38 to 48. Year over year, it is up to sell a home, of course, as well. So month over month, this is the same as Murrieta and Menifee, basically, and Temecula, it's taking less time to sell, which is what's typical. Like, Temecula is probably the most popular city, and those homes are selling the quickest. Median days on market in Winchester, so it is up, taking even longer, up 19 days, so from 31 to 50 days. To sell a home in Winchester, and that's up 19 days in just 1 month. So that is a pretty big, pretty huge increase. In Temecula, just to compare, it's taking about 40 days. So these aren't off by a whole lot, but it is taking longer to sell in both Wildomar and Winchester than Menifee, Murrieta, and Temecula, from what I recall. Year over year in Winchester, from 20 days in January of 2022 to 50 days in January 2023 to sell a home. Number of listings starting in Wildomar. This one is kind of interesting too. So month over month, the number of listings is down 20.7%. And this is percentage-wise, it is about the same as Menifee and Temecula. Murrieta's number of listings was only down like 12.9%. But where it gets kind of interesting is in the volume of the number of listings. So just to compare these cities, so in January we had 46 listings in Wildomar, compared with Menifee, you had like 278, Murrieta, you had 217, and in Temecula, you had 187. So you have many times more listings in the larger cities, but these percentages are the same, except, again, for when you go to year over year, number of listings in Murrieta, Temecula, and Menifee was up across the board. In Temecula, the number of listings was up 18.4%, but in Wildomar, we have a decrease year over year in the number of listings by 4.2%. So that is an interesting percentage difference, I think. Moving on to Winchester, we have a month over month decrease in the number of listings as well, decreasing by 14.5%. And if we look over to the year over year, these are this number of up 122.2% on the number of listings year over year is more in line with our other 3 cities. So kind of interesting differences. Wildomar is this outlier in the percentage stats, whereas Winchester seems to be trending with the other cities. Thanks as always for watching. Let us know if you want to see more Wildomar, Winchester stats. It's been interesting for me to dig into these couple of areas because there's some similarities and there's some interesting differences. We'll see you next week. Bye.